I feel like whenever the new game comes out, they invent the most diabolical and random way to evolve a Pokemon. Like, it's literally impossible to figure out how to evolve some of these Pokemon without the internet or a guide. Like, how is someone supposed to figure out that they have to turn their 3DS upside down to get a Malamar? Before you write your comment and say, whoa, that's a cool 3DS, dude, I don't own a 3DS. And do you really expect me to buy a $300 handheld for a 30-second clip in a video?
Maybe someday.
For Scarlet and Violet, I went into the game as blind as I possibly could, and I had way more fun playing the game that way. I found a Finizen near Lavencia, and I needed a water type for my team, so I caught it. Dolphins are one of my favorite animals, and I was excited to find out what it would become. I kept playing the game, and he wouldn't evolve. I leveled him up, I tried giving him a water stone, I increased his friendship, nothing was working. I had to double check to make sure Finizen could actually evolve, and when I checked that, I saw its method. It needs to be at least level 38 and level up once in a Union Circle. Yep, so you either need a Switch Online membership or a friend nearby with a second Switch. I get why they did this to promote the new mechanic of Union Circles, but man, I played the game for so long with a Finizen. And out of all the evolution methods we're going to be talking about today, Finizen is one of the easiest ones to get. But before we begin, I want you to imagine for this entire video that you're someone who doesn't have the internet or a guide trying to figure out how to evolve these Pokemon. Because a lot of us back then didn't have those luxuries. Oh yeah, and if you like and subscribe, you're guaranteed to find a shiny in the next 24 hours, confirmed. And if you think I'm lying, there's only one way to find out. Since I already mentioned Malamar, let's start with Inkay. You can find Inkay as early as Route 8 and has a great typing of Psychic and Dark type. Evolving Inkay is a little tricky if you don't know what you're doing. It needs to be at least level 30, and you have to turn your 3DS upside down. However, the 3DS sensors that detect that it's upside down are a little unreliable, and many people have had trouble evolving Inkay because of this. Basically, you have to turn your 3DS upside down about 10 seconds before the battle ends. Inkay is the revolving Pokemon, and some Pokédex entries talk about how it spins while making spots flash, but that's not enough to justify this confusing evolution method. I had trouble doing this in Blueberry Academy and Scarlet and Violet, and I knew what I was doing ahead of time. Seriously, go back to a game that has Inkay and flip over your console once it's level 30. It's not gonna work the first time. I am not making this up. This is genuinely how you evolve Galarian Yamask in Sword and Shield. First, you have to get your Galarian Yamask to take at least 49 damage through battle without it fainting. Once you've done that, take it to the Dusty Bowl and walk under the Stone Arch and it will evolve into Runegus. This is all super random on the surface, but there is a theory for why Yamask has to take exactly 49 damage. Yamask is a ghost-type Pokemon who used to be a human that holds a mask of its human face. I am not Buddhist and know very little about the religion, so hopefully my research is accurate. But from what I have found, Bardo is a Buddhist ideology, which is the existence between two lives on Earth, and is sort of a purgatory. There are two Buddhist texts that cite the Bardo period taking place 7 times 7 days, which is 49, the same amount of damage that it needs to take. However, Buddhism isn't very popular in the UK, which is where Sword and Shield takes place, so this likely isn't the reason. Another theory is that the thing Yamask is carrying is a part of a Lovo tombstone, which is a gravesite of Vikings on the island Lovo in Sweden. Specifically, one of these gravestones is labeled U49. Here's a side-by-side of what Galarian Yamask carries and what one of these Lovo gravestones look like. For whatever reason, Game Freak chose 49. We don't know why, but it makes for a very interesting and frustrating evolution method. Tyro can evolve into Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee, or Hitmontop. And on your first playthrough, you probably thought whichever one Tyrogue evolves into is completely random, but this isn't the case. Whatever Tyrogue evolves into is purely dependent on its attack and defense stats. Once it reaches level 20, if its attack is higher than its defense, it'll evolve into Hitmonlee. If its defense is higher than its attack, then it will evolve into Hitmonchan. And if its attack and defense stat are exactly equal, then it will evolve into Hitmontop. It's very difficult to have equal attack and defense stats if you don't know what you're doing. Although Tyrogue's base stats are all 35 across the board, you won't know what IVs it gets assigned when you get it. And if you don't pay attention to the Pokemon you battle with Tyrogue, that can change your Tyrogue's EVs, changing its attack or defense. In Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, you need 153 Pokemon to complete the Pokedex. The original 151 plus Meltan and Melmetal. To get Meltan, you need to link your game with your Pokemon Go account, catch the Meltan, and transfer it to Let's Go through the Safari Zone. Easy enough. So how do you evolve Meltan? Well, you can only evolve it in Pokemon Go, and you need 400 Meltan candies. The only way to get Meltan in Pokemon Go is through the mystery box, which only lasts for an hour. And although that's a pretty long time, you're not getting 400 candies through your first box. For every Meltan you catch, you get 3 Meltan candies, and you can get an additional candy by sending it to the professor, meaning you need at the bare minimum 101 Meltans to get enough candies, and then have 1 left over to evolve. Although that sounds time consuming, it's not that bad just to reactivate the mystery box and go again. Well, you have to wait 3 days to use it again. And no, changing your phone's clock doesn't work. I've tried. Black and White were the first game since the series started that had a completely brand new Pokédex. And with that, they made a lot of very cool and unique Pokemon. Every time I've played the game, I've used a new team, and every team I've genuinely enjoyed using. But for whatever reason, some of the best Pokemon in Unova, for example Volcarona and Hydreigon, evolve at insane levels. For some context, in the main game, Zekrom and Reshiram are level 50 when you battle them, and this is right before the champion battle. And the highest level you'll battle in the main game is Ghetsis Hydreigon at level 54, which he definitely cheats for, because at level 54, you would have a Zweilous. Yep, you would still have a Zweilous if you were at level 54. And most likely, your team will still be in the mid to high 40s, so while Ghetsis has a Hydreigon, I bet you would still have a Dino at the champion battle. There's absolutely no reason for the ridiculous high levels needed to evolve. Zweilous evolves into Hydreigon at level 64, which is higher level than most trainers in the postgame. Most trainers, not all, but most. And there are plenty more examples of this in Unova. Larvesta evolves at 59, Volibee at 54, Rufflet at 54, Pawniard at 52, Litwick to Lampet at 41. You get the point. Tandemaus isn't annoying, but it is strange to say the least. Tandemaus evolves into Maushold at level 25 randomly. If it gains EXP from a battle it didn't participate in, or if you use a rare candy, it will just evolve without the animation. You usually get a family of 4 Maushold, but there is a 1 in 100 odds of getting a 3 family Maushold, making it one of the rarest shinies in the game. I actually really like this evolution because it's accurate in real life. Most people, when they get married, don't immediately start a family, and they wait by feel. Whether it's because of a financial stability, where they want to live, or some other reason, couples don't have a set time to start a family, which is the same thing I think Game Freak went for in the Tandemaus evolution. Feebas is one of the few Pokemon which evolution methods have actually been changed as the series has gone on. Originally in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, to evolve Feebas, you need to max out its beauty stat, which you can only check through contests. The way to max it out is by making Pokeblocks with berries. The best berries for beauty are corn berries, and the best way to get these is to get them from the Berry Master on Route 123s through soft resets, since corn berries aren't guaranteed, and then plant them near his house. Then take all your corn berries to Lily Cove Contest Hall and find 3 NPCs near the Berry Blender, and they'll do the red clicker minigame for you, giving you the best chance of getting high-level Pokeblocks. Repeat this process until Feebas' beauty stat is maxed out, and you'll have a Milotic. Now, mind you, I just described the best method to complete this, and it's still very time-consuming. And since it's now 2025, most Gen 3 cartridges have a dried-out battery preventing time-based events from happening. You know, like berries growing. And I know you can repair the battery, but I don't know how to do that. And do you know how expensive Emerald is nowadays? If you mess up that repair, that's a $250 mistake. Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum have the same method, but you give it Poffins instead of Pokeblocks. But after Gen 4, contests became a thing in the past, and Game Freak had to create a new method for evolving Feebas without contests. So what did they come up with? Trading it with a Prism Scale. Yep. They turned it into a trade evo. It wouldn't be an evolution video without trades. It's infamously fans' least favorite evolution method. I feel like all the Pokemon I want to use in my playthroughs are all trade evos, and most people would agree with that. All the times I wanted to use Gengar, Alakazam, Scizor, Electivire, do I need to continue? There are so many of them, 26 to be exact. And trade evos are nothing new. They've been a part of this series since the very beginning. It's a lot easier to acquire these nowadays with Wi-Fi, but how did Nintendo expect people to do trades in 1998? Not only do you need another person for these trades, but you also need someone who you can trust won't mindy you. The most extreme example of a trade evolution is Carablast and Shelmet. These two are the only Pokemon that will only evolve if they are traded for each other. This means you cannot evolve Carablast unless the person you're trading with is trading you a Shelmet, and vice versa. Who came up with this? I still have nightmares from trades I've done with my siblings, which is why I don't trade through Wi-Fi anymore. Trade evos are still being given to Pokemon to this day and are probably not going away anytime soon. Alcremie has 63 different forms, and depending on how you complete the method, you'll get a different form of Alcremie every time. To evolve Milcery, you need to get different sweets, which you can get from different cafes all around Galar. Once you give your Milcery a sweet, you have to spin for a certain amount of time at a certain time of day, and it will evolve into Alcremie. Your spin and the time of day you do it will determine which Alcremie you get. That's as simple as I can describe it. If you want a certain form, you pretty much need a PhD in Sword and Shield. I genuinely wonder if anyone has actually gotten all 63 Alcremies, and if they did, are they shiny? Have you ever wondered why Serena never evolved her Pancham in the XY anime? Is it because Pangoro isn't very appealing for contests? Is it because they didn't want to give her a powerhouse? Well, it's probably because you need to have a dark type in your party for Pancham to evolve. On top of it needing to be level 32, needing a dark type in your party is a very random requirement they threw into the game. I guess Pangoro is part dark type and maybe that's why you need to have a dark type in your team, but that's not the case for any other Pokemon that gains the additional dark typing. I know the anime and games aren't the same, not even close to the same, but it is a cool piece of continuity they added into the show if that's the case. Still a dumb prerequisite for an evolution though. Mantyke is somewhat similar to Pancham in the sense that they both need something additional in your party for them to evolve. You have to have a Remoraid in your party for Mantyke to evolve into Mantine. I get that Mantine has a Remoraid following it on its sprite, but does that really mean you need a Remoraid to evolve it? Why can't Mantine just find a Remoraid for it to follow after it evolves? Mutualism exists with aquatic life all the time, but that doesn't mean they need each other to grow up. The worst part of this is that you will taint your Pokedex and save file by catching a Remoraid. What type of fish evolves into an octopus anyway? Ninkeda's evolution process isn't any different from most Pokemon. It evolves through level up like most of them do, but it's the only Pokemon in the entire series that evolves into 2 Pokemon. If you have an empty Pokeball in your inventory and an empty party slot, when your Ninkeda evolves at level 20, you will get both a Ninjask and a Sheninja. The lore behind this is that Ninkeda went into its cocoon and came out a Ninjask, while the cocoon turned into a Sheninja. I wonder who the first person was to evolve a Ninkeda, and what their reaction was when he got 2 Pokemon for the price of 1. There are multiple Pokemon that can only evolve if they were a certain gender, but the most aggravating one to get in my opinion is Combee. This is because you can only get Combee from honey trees in Generation 4. And who doesn't love honey trees? You know, the trees that spawn a Pokemon once every 6 hours, but don't wait too long, because after 24 hours, the Pokemon will have disappeared. And even if you do wait 6 hours, there's a 10% chance that nothing will spawn at all. Luckily, Combee has one of the best encounter odds from both Munchlax trees and non-Munchlax trees at 22% in Diamond and Pearl and 32% in Platinum. However, you'll need to get a female Combee for it to be able to evolve into Vespiquen. Well, that doesn't sound too bad. What could Combee's gender odds possibly be? Well, the odds of a Combee being female are 12.5%. Yep, 12.5. So let's add everything up. You have to lather 21 trees in honey, wait 6 hours for them to start shaking, get the 90% odds of a Pokemon to be in that tree, and then also get the 22% Combee encounter. And then also, on top of that, get the 12.5% female encounter on top of that. Altogether, it's a 2.5% chance. But you do get 21 attempts every 6 hours. So take that as you would. I'm sure there are a bunch of other evolution methods I left out. Let me know which ones you like or dislike, and I'll maybe make a part 2 to this. Wait, you're still here? You actually want to watch the outro? Well, I'm going to show you guys a secret. I've been hiding something from you this entire time. Ready? Have you pressed subscribe yet?